just you know, hit Tom up, and then when we get to the question section, we'll come to it so that you don't forget. So manual wheelchairs.
100%. So this slide is pretty much when a therapist comes to you, as I'm just talking as a dealer perspective, as well as anybody sees it when they walk down the road and people go up to you and say, oh, I saw a wheelchair the other day. What was it? It was a Quickie 2. Those 4 chairs there are Quickie 2s. So it's very crucial to find out what is actually involved on it. Is it a fixed front end, or is it a swing away, or is it the angle adjustable leg rests, or depends on how they can be as ultra lightweight as they want or as complex as they need to be. So it's really about finding out the details of what they're like and what's available to understand that.
Coming back to ultimately your client's goals. So, you know, it's really great to know how to make these changes, but make sure you're making the changes and scripting it, obviously, for the right reasons.
So just talking on that, then you've got your swing away frame at the top or your fixed frame. So your swing away means it's actually removable. So the hanger is actually removable off with the frame. And then the fixed hanger is purely a weight saving and a movable part. So you're going to reduce that weight by adding that part into there. It just makes the configuration a little bit lighter.
Okay. Ultimately, when we're considering setup and positioning of a manual chair, okay, for someone who is self-propelling, we really want this position here. All right, I'm going to steal Amy's term because it makes me smile, called hasapawa. Okay, head over shoulder, over pelvis, over axle, over wheel. Okay, so when you're setting up, you really want that plumb line to be running all the way down here, nice and straight. Okay, and this helps you work out a couple of things. Is the horizontal position of the wheel in the ideal position? Is the rear wheel the correct height? Are the front casters the correct height? Camber, all these sort of things. And ultimately what we're aiming for is an ergonomic push. Okay, so we want, when someone grabs the wheel to push, we want them to start at 10 o'clock and release at 2 o'clock. All right, ultimately we want the push phase to be less than the recovery phase. Okay, so ideally what we're going for here is longer strokes, fewer strokes, less force means less chance of injury. Okay, so essentially we want the person to be working as efficiently or as lazy as possible. All right, whichever way you want to look at it. This is just directly off our Education in Motion website. There's a really nice sort of article on rear axle position if you're after some more information on it. Okay. All right, so if your wheel is too low, all right, they're going to be too far away from the person in the chair. They're not going to have very good access to the rim, and therefore they're going to have a really poor stroke. If it's too high, you know, I'm going to have sore shoulders and a sore back and sore elbows. Okay, I want to protect the shoulder. For active wheelchair users, if they lose their shoulder function, that's significant for them. Okay, just like, you know, if you and I who are walking around at the moment, if you know, we lose a leg to whether it's an amputation or just a broken bone, you think how much that impacts you. So, you know, active wheelchair users, we really, really want to save their shoulders. All right. So, you know, a few millimeters, an inch, even more so, can make a significant difference. Okay. The one other thing we need to take into consideration is camber, and I call this my chicken wings. Okay. So camber does a couple of things. If you go into, you know, imagining you're propelling a wheelchair, you actually come out at an angle here. We don't go straight down. So camber is really important for, again, shoulder integrity, but also it's going to help with a more efficient push, more efficient turn. You look at like all the tennis players and basketball chairs, the camber's way out here. All right, but something you need to consider is access to doorways. Okay, and small entrances, because camber is going to increase the width of the chair.
Yeah, so increased movability, but decreases where you can go in an everyday. So you see them for sport purely for that reason. So it's giving them that movement that they need and stability. And then you've got, so if you do that at an 18, 20 wide chair and then add 4 degrees of camber, then you're going to be looking where you're going to be able to go, because that's going to be your limiting factor.
So typically for active wheelchair users in the community, you're going to be looking between 2 and 4 degrees of camber, probably closer to 2 or 3 is what we would typically do for most of our wheelchair users.
We say typically that's our guide, because it could be less or it could be more.
Yep.
So.
All right. So this comes down to center of gravity. Okay. So center of gravity is what we refer to as how far forward the hub of the wheel is. Okay. And we measure it from the front of the back cane. So from here to the middle spoke. We've removed the wheel, okay, because we're going to show you how you can move a center of gravity. Okay, so the more far forward that rear wheel is, the tippier the chair is going to be, but it's going to be more reactive. Okay. Every wheelchair center of gravity or axle can be changed differently. We're just going to show you in this chair. Yep.
So how you'd measure it, so as we were talking about there, so the nicest way to do it is to actually get the spoke, get your spirit level as you were before. So we'll go for this particular one. We'll use the phone. So you want to find that middle spoke and get it true. So you're setting it true to that degree. This is not going to set because of that, but you'd set that degree to true, and then you'd measure from that spoke to the back cane. So you'd be able to find out exactly what they are already. So you'd be able to use what you've got with you. Don't try and invent something and try a new way. Work, get that true square, and then you're working from there to find out exactly what position it needs to be in. Then if you find it's too far back, then obviously just remember to take the brake off. These particular adjustments, you may find that you're going to need to have that bit more of a hammer present sometimes, because they do get stuck over time. So then what we're doing is these are 2 10mm behind, so just using the spanner behind, the 2 bolts behind, and then we're able to slide that position forward and backwards. So changing your center of gravity. With this particular chair, you've got presets behind, so you've got preset holes behind. So this is our QXI. And then to other chairs, what you need to do is find a point of contact that is true. On the more rigid chairs, we'll show you, you have to go to the actual metal work. So you're not going to any of the stem, so then you'd be able to find out, so you'd have to look for a point of metal that's the same on both sides. So with the folding, you'd want to go back to putting the wheel on to then see, are we square? So we've moved that forward.
So Rob, if the axle plate and the wheels isn't square, what's the
push? Yeah, you'll notice the push. It just doesn't track. I always use it because obviously you can tell by the accent. But if the old minis used to almost crab down the road, so you used to be able to see the back of the car and the front of the car as it drove down the road. So it'd give you a true. You'd see it straight away, and that's the same thing. So you're getting friction and drag on the actual chair. The chair's not going in the right way, so it's going to slow the push down, and you're going to lose resistance against the wheels.
And why do you suggest measuring from a solid piece of frame or metal as opposed to plastic?
Because plastic wears all the time, so we're getting those points that we're eliminating the factors. Obviously, people's frames, depending if they're like 4 or 5 years old and they've been hard users on it, you're going to get wear marks. So it's always about those environments, depending on what they know, depending on where things can go. So it's making it work for the client. But if you can have that fixed point, just if you look at it and then you can relate to somewhere else on the chair and check the other side, if it's the same condition, then you'd have that. You need it as match as much as possible, as close as you can. If you find that you're not quite square, that can be on the rigid chairs. You need to then look at foot plates, because foot plates can do the same thing as what you arc in the center of gravity and things. Because if you get the foot plate out of line, one side higher than the other, that then can change the shape of the chair as well. So it's just those points to be aware of. Seat height as well while we're here.
Yep.
So then you've got, in addition, so we were talking about the wheels being too high or the wheels being too low. What you've got on here, this one particularly, so you've got different positions that you can set the wheels to. So just pop the wheel back on just to show, so you can see how that wheel now, so essentially what you're doing is increasing the dump. So now the wheel, that axle position is so much higher. Depending on if the person's actually in the chair, you'd then find how the picture before was to say, oh, this is too high, this is too low. So you're giving that. So all you're doing is, again, the bolt behind, and then you've got preset holes. A lot of them are all preset in their adjustments. They're still going to be holes. If they're not, what I tend to do is I'd mark on the inside. You'd get a white marker like the Tipex or your nail varnish or something along those lines, just to mark the color, and then at least then you know. The key thing is, like we've said about power chairs and power training, always record what you did before, what it was like before, because if the client doesn't like it, you've got to then, it's no longer guesswork to go back to what it is. Take a photo of the inside of how it is, and with a tape measure next to it, so you can get some really physical, you know exactly that's where it was, or mark it, and then you can work back from there. Because a lot of users, if they've had the chair for a while, change is quite big. Change is going to be quite important to them.
Definitely.
What's next on?
So this is what I really like about this picture, is it just shows you different axle plates, different axle stems look slightly different. Okay, we'll just grab up a couple of other chairs and show you quickly, just so you know kind of what you're problem solving.
So if the user's got spinaches, so spinaches, we're talking about the wheels, even better for the spokes, because you've got more space to work out exactly where you want to do. As you can see, this setup here from the actual chair, you've got adjustments that have been done. We use this chair a lot for tools time, so it's really easy to adjust. But you're talking about the actual axle position. So your center of gravity is this bar here. So you're physically sliding it forward and backwards. Half an inch can make a massive difference, depends on somebody's gravity. So it's not about going maximum and going as far forward as possible. Again, the most crucial part of this, if you're going out there and you want to make somebody more active, don't try and do too much in one go, because it will scare them and they'll hate it and they don't want anything to do with it. So it's about getting that interaction with it and making it work.
Especially, you know, when you're looking at increasing someone's, you know, tippiness of their chair or reactiveness by increasing that center of gravity, you know, 3-4 mils can make a really big difference.
Yeah.
So, you know, when I talk about pediatric seating, I always say go hard or go home. This is one where I wouldn't go hard or go home. You know, I'd really look at change 2-3 mils, you know, come back 3-4 weeks, then change it again. Because, you know, just like when we're learning new skills ourselves, you know, whether it's a sport, whatever it is, we need to practice at that level before we can move up further.
And it may be the fact that this client's came to see you without a backpack on or a laptop that they carry on their back all the time, that as soon as we adjust it too far, then they can't use the chair anymore. So it's about having that compromise and asking the environment. So
definitely.
So backrest angle, as we showed you before on the actual back canes, some of the side effects to back cane adjustments is that as soon as if you, like we did with the, hang on, we're just moving the camera, hang on. So how we were saying before, you can do the backrest angle. It has positives and negatives because sometimes then your canes are getting in the way. So you've got to be aware of what you're doing because it could be, so we'll just tighten this up just to show it forward. We're going on the iris at the moment, but you can do this with any depth adjustable frame or with that angle adjustment. You see on the images, we've got the standard frame. So with the standard back tight, you'd have to do it with a third party back or with a tension adjustable back where you can release the slings, the actual sling itself, and just reduce the backrest and allow them to sink into the back. Or you've got your third party, like your J, then you can do angle adjustment. Then you've got your actual, the second picture on the right, your angle adjustable. That's setting the pivot on where at the top of the PSIS. It's giving you that angle recline, so you're keeping the hips as far back in the as true position as you want, and then allowing that little bit of angle adjustment. Then if you want total back recline, I'll just do this well. So you've got a 11 mil and a 4 mil. Just trying to think of when you just need to open that hip angle. The nice thing about it is setting the hip angle as a actual, setting it first and then allowing the final adjustments being done with the backrest. So it just gives you that little bit more control of where you want it to be. Again, dependent on how safe you feel, you can do this with the client in the chair. Depends on if you've got somebody to help you and assist, or whether. So what you've got then at that point, you've got a figure of 8 hole. You can pretty much set then different positions to where you want them to be.
Sorry, hang on, I'm trying to zoom. Apologies guys, my camera skills here.
So you've got that pivot on the angle there. It's really giving you that adjustment. You got
what you can see Rob doing, he's got to line up about probably 3 different holes here. So he's just taking pressure off the back cane to get all 3 holes lined up, okay, and then feeding that bolt through.
And that's then setting that angle that you want. And then the finite adjustment is through the backrest itself for your third party back, or through tension if you need tension adjustable. And then it's just the 4 mil at the front there, and then 11 on the back. It will always be a clamp, so it will always be clamped between the 2.
So if you've never done this before, one, Allen key goes one way and you're holding with the back the other way, okay?
Again, with this course, it's very hard to show everything as much as we can on virtually. But again, if that's the case, if you feel that this could be of interest to anybody, we do run the course here in Sydney, but we have different reps all around the country, and we can come out and do courses for you and make it work for you, no problem at all.
Okay. Hangers. Just give us 2 seconds to reset a little bit here. All right, so hangers really come in all different shapes and sizes and angles, okay? And when you are scripting a chair, you might think sometimes to the person scripting it, why all the questions? But this comes back to your MAT assessment. If you've done a really good assessment, you can almost hit it spot on. So hangers, we need to consider a few things. We need to consider the angle of the hanger, okay? So I like to think about it, typically you have a 90, which is a nice and tight angle, and then we go 85, 80, or typically all the way up to 70-degree hanger as well. So bigger the number on leg rest, hangers, bigger the number, tighter the angle. So that angle is really referring to that lower leg angle at the knee. Okay, so as Rob was showing you before how to change that back angle, that's your hip to leg angle, and now we're talking about the knee angle. Okay.
So with adjusting the chairs, the foot plate, so what you're looking at is in the back where the hanger comes down and the extension tube comes out on the extension hangers. Then you're looking at the back. There's normally a collar. Say normally, it depends on manufacturer. So then you'd have, so you see,
we're misplacing our Allen keys.
Yeah, put them everywhere. Okay. So you're physically, you can see, so you're giving that height adjustment, so then you can, so then you've got that tube adjustment, so you can shrink it, tighten it up, and then.
We also have angle adjustment in these foot plates. Okay, so in the composite one that Rob's playing with at the moment, on the outside, we'll just get that in view for you. Okay.
The opposite to where I want to be.
All right, so this bit here, you loosen it, and then you can change the angle of the foot. Okay.
Just give me that rotation.
And I think to be able to set the lower leg length and change that lower leg length can have a considerable impact on pressure, because if someone's knees are, you know, on extreme up around their ears, the pressure going through their ITs is going to be significant. All right. So just by lowering that leg length, or perhaps you need to increase it, they're kind of swinging array. Just finding that collar and bringing that leg length up or down slightly makes a considerable difference, as does the angle. Now, Rob has just accidentally on purpose taken the foot plate off the hanger, which happens.
So what you're doing is changing the angle. So you're literally taking it off. So you see on that part, I don't know if you can see, really, it's just got fixed teeth that you're dropping it into. This is on the composite, so it's just giving you that angle. And then on the side of the foot plate, it's got the dial, so you can see different, like 10, 0, 10. So it depends if you want that fixed position. You can do 5s as well, just going to be as your markings. And then you put the Allen key back in and tighten it all back up.
Okay, so really, really simple, and something clinically that can have a really, really big impact on your clients, their pressure and their comfort.
Then you've got probably the most used one on the market. So let me just, so you've got the angle adjustable. I'm going to stay still.
Yes, let's do. Rob's trying to help by moving around.
And so you've got that angle adjustable. So you've got the 2 Allen keys in the top there. So they're going to then set that angle, so you can, whereas the other one was limited to what angles you can do, you can pretty much set this one to wherever you want it to. Yeah. In addition to this, what you can do is actually take this off. And what you've got under here is 2 brackets. And then you literally can undo those all the way, rotate that round 180 degrees, so spin that round, and then you've changed the angle so that instead of it be going on at this angle here, it would then go on at this angle here, giving you that tighter knee angle. So then you could achieve, if somebody's just got that one leg tighter, you could then bring that back to a 90-degree hanger. Say if you were on an 80 as standard, you bring it back to a 90, or rotate it back and do this the other way around and do it out to a 70. So you get that different positioning just on one hanger. It's a really useful tool just to know that you can take them apart. You only need to undo the top because the bottom's got the nut, it's actually closed into that actual bar there as well, so it's concealed within that part. It just gives that nice part of adjustment.
And you can see what I also love about this is called our adult angle adjustable foot plate. I kind of think this is my complex foot plate. It's also got lots of pre-drilled lines, so if you are using like an ankle hugger or other foot positioning pieces or a foot box, that sort of thing. These make it really, really easy to put them on and off and work for the complex needs of your client. Okay.
You've got your fixed frame. I'll just quickly show you that one while we're here. So then, oh, I might have to zoom out a little bit. So on the back there, let me move this up. Then you've got your angle adjustment under here, the Allen key. So that'll just give you your depth on. But again, just have a look to work out, make sure you're doing the same distance on both sides. Some of the, if they need to be that bit shorter, you might do a spacer underneath there. But again, they've got, if you can see on, we can just lift that camera up a little bit. You've got the preset holes in here as well. So you can see them on the inside. So you can do those forward and backwards as well. And if you need to, depend on which model you're going for, you can do reverse mount as well. It all depends. Everything's adjustable. You just got to watch for your caster clash. That's the only thing you've got to be aware of, because you've got no tilt or anything like that. Just be aware of what you can do.
The one sort of hanger and caster that we don't have here that I think is a really, really great option is this one here called the Zaffinity hanger. And the way I think about it is it's like a Ferris wheel and it goes around and around you, so you can sort of set that height anywhere you need to. But what's also perfect is there's heaps of angle adjustment and it's super, super simple. So if you've got a little kiddo who's going through, say, Botox or you know, a casting series or that sort of thing, you know, when their cast comes out at a different angle, 20-second job to change the angle and the length of the foot plate here. So these Affinity ones work really, really well. We can put them on adult chairs, but the weight rating I think is only around about 69, 70 kilos. Yeah. So that's, you know, it is a pediatric based
yeah, it's a crucial part of when you're looking at it, what you've got the strength factor. If they're a thrasher, then yeah, avoid it a little bit.
Right, so I think we've really thought about it, but you know, I think
this is all in your handout as well. Just giving you a bit of a reasoning into why we think you'd pick a 60, 70, 80, and clinically what you've been used for.
Yeah.
Just to give you that bit of an all round, so you can use it for your own development as well, to understand what's there and what's not.
Yeah, and understand when you're scripting your next chair why you're being given those options.
Yeah.
Okay. Rob's already touched on, you know, for our fixed frame, so more of our active chairs. So you'd see this on the Nitram or the RGKs, that sort of thing. Different types of footrests, sizes, shapes, as Rob was showing you on the 7R before. You know, you've got that angle and flip back option as well. So in terms of where you make the height, just like the collar on the swingaways, you've got a collar in here and here to change that length. Do watch out for caster interference, and obviously you don't want that hitting the ground. If you're working with really short legs, or you know, a kiddo who's growing, you might want to add a spacer as well.
Just one before we go on to that, because I'll just flick back to, just for your awareness of that one, if you could go, I can't see what one. Yeah, so you've got the armrests. We do a couple of types. So this is your dual post. So you've got this little flick lever just on the side there. So all you're doing is setting that, they're preset holes. So you just flick that to whichever way away, and then you can set the height. Pretty standard on a lot of wheelchairs now. So you've got that adjustment on the manual range. So that one, again, on the height on that one. So just giving you, they're all preset. So it's pretty much, you can go one notch higher, one notch. You've got the holes on the inside you'll be able to see. So you can literally count the holes so you can match the other side the same. Saying they need to be the same doesn't always the case, but it depends on what you're using, like a tray or something like that as well.
And then last but not least, wheel lock options. Okay, so the one thing you will find out if you change someone's horizontal position or even vertical position of their rear tire, you will have to change their wheel lock position. I'm going to show you how to do that. Hang on.
So the main thing to consider when the brakes, if somebody comes around to you and says, oh, I don't know if my brakes are going to work, my brakes aren't working. First things first, just check their tyres have got air in them. Because we all know that the pressure on that will then change the friction we get to actually allow that point to work a little bit. And then we're looking at 2 Allen keys, top and bottom, the front and back, sorry, and then you're able to slide on the tube. The best way to set them is if you put a finger between the finger, between the tyre and that actual threaded part, and then you literally be able to, as you pivot it forward, it would then go for your tension. This is just a guide because what you'll find is different users use brakes in different ways, and if they haven't got the strength as well, they'd be able to have a look. But they all seem to be, the main manufacturers are all going with a 2 Allen key adjustment at the top or underneath, and then it just allows that movement. So you can see all of those, on all the ones there, they've got that clamp adjustment at the top. So you've got those 2 there, and then moving on to the high mount, you've got the 2 again. It's all the same hardware. If you can see the compact, they go on the outside there, so allow that to slide in and out. And then the ergo is the same on the outside. The unilateral is nice in the sense that one side just works for one. It does exactly what it says on the tin, with but the only thing to look at is a cable adjustment in between the 2. So they can sometimes give that little bit of fail. And then you've got the extension handle just for that bit more adjustment.
And the extension handles just go straight on top here as well. So they're really easily removed for transfers and that sort of thing. So that is manual wheelchair adjustment.
It's a real whistle stop. So it might be, it's just a bit of a taster to give you an idea of what was going on, and hopefully you were able to see it with a camera. Our camera skills are improving with the world we're in. But yeah, hopefully any questions or anything like that, we're really opening the gates on this one.
So in summary, you're looking at changing your axle or your rear wheel position for height, so moving that up and down and moving the center of gravity, so forward and back. We have wheel lock adjustments, which we need to take into consideration there too. And if you're not sure where to start, if making adjustments to manual wheelchairs is brand new to you, I personally would start at the hangers, okay? Make them shorter, make them longer, get the feel of that first, okay? Tom's got a question. I'm just going to pop over and read it. We've just had a question come through that's been half cut off. Someone said, do you have examples of adjustable push handles?
Quickie 2.
Or Quickie 2.
You've got you can do the stroller handle.
Yeah, push, let us just, so the question is, do we have examples of adjustable push handles for the Quickie 2? I put the Quickie 2 and an Iris do similar mods. Just give us 2 secs, we'll show you.
So these ones use straights anyway.
Yeah. So the ones you can see on camera now, they're your straight. You can't make any changes to them. Depending on the chair, you might, and how it's scripted, you might be able to raise them up or raise the height of the backrest canes. The way you do that is just take off the upholstery and have a look if they're fixed or if there's movement, growth in the tubes. And what Rob is showing you here are what we'd call our height adjustable stroller handles. Okay, so by using this pivot point here, we can change the height or the angle of the stroller handles. For more, this is really something you script for the carers. You know, mum and dad's different height. You know, 2 different carers at different times of day, and that's really going to save the back of the carers and make it a lot easier for them too. You've also got options like 8-degree push handles where we just flare them out slightly at the top.
Yeah, it sort of starts around about 12 inches at the frame and then just gives that 8 degree just to allow that actual
nice shoulder position.
Takes the canes away from the shoulder if they are propelling that little bit.
Yeah, if you've got any more questions specifically regarding handles and that sort of thing, we can just drop us a note and we'll give you some nice pictures and examples of them.
Perfect.
All right.
Now we're going to go on to power.
Hope you're all hanging in there.
I was going to say, I realise we've done 2 hours already and it's like, yeah, okay. Still can't get over face cloth this time. Yeah, okay.
All right, power wheelchairs. I think power wheelchairs can be a little bit daunting. You know, I know when I first really started in AT, you'd look at a power wheelchair and go, oh my gosh, they're so complicated, they're so expensive, I'm not going to touch them, which is true, but equally get to know the chair, all right? Rip off the seating and start from there.
So this particular one has got what we call a tension adjustable backrest on it.
Yep. Hopefully
all understand tension, but what we'll do is a quick view. So you've got a slung seat. Majority of the time you see this on a manual, so it's that little bit of option. So what we mean, you've got that tension, so you can change a little bit more. So it just gives you that. You can just allow that sag in the backrest. It works for entry level, and then your progression, if this then can't accommodate, then you'd be looking to go to change into third-party backrest.
Yeah, and you just take it off and you've got the back canes. So just like on the Quickie RS or the Pt.2, you can put on a J2 or a J-fit back easily.
So I'm doing this now purely because we're going to just grow this chair. So with our light range of chair, this is just more so you're aware it can actually grow. So you can see on the screen there, you've got those 6 Allen keys that do the width adjustment. It's a bit of a trick because then you've got to do additional width as well.
So because the back frame is attached to the seat on the light,
yeah,
you've got to just remember.
So our light frame is combined. So whatever width you want the seat at, you need the actual back canes to be the same width. So you can't do the narrow seat frame with the wider back or vice versa. So what you're looking at doing, I'll start at the top. I tend to do, you're already there. So we're doing a 5mm. So with these, with our power range, we're all metric. So everything about it is metric, apart from, like we said before, if you had a Whitmire headrest, then that would still be imperial. So there are only real things that are imperial. So I always take the top 2 out just so we can just show you how much adjustment. It's just keeping the strut between. So it's just that joining bar to keep the measurements on there. If you flick that cover off, just if you're at a client's house, you'd be able to see what growth you've got left. So you'd be able to see a visual into what adjustment would be. Then we're going down to the seat pan. So we're going to, as per the slide. So you're looking, so again, I'll just do a turn on these. And what we're doing is then increasing it so to 18. So in here we've got different sizes.
And what it says is it's got all these bubbles here and here, which actually says the measurement that you're growing it to. So say if you're using this chair on a ward and you're putting different clients in it, it's super easy to grow. Or, you know, rip off your client's cushion if it says 16 and you know, they've put on weight or their medication has caused a weight increase. You can say, yep, I know that I can grow it. I only have to call my dealer.
You're looking at 51 wide, so you're growing out quite a bit on the width.
Yeah.
And then on the top here, you do the same again. So you're setting that at 460. So you'd find the 460 in the adjustment, and then
so it's really great. It's got both measurements in millimeters and inches. So whichever one you're more comfortable with makes your life super easy.
So as quick as that, that is literally we are now ready. We've gone from 16 to 18. So we've done that adjustment there. So we're just completely upskilled. Then you've got the width adjustment, or seat depth adjustment, sorry. So this is a prime example where you change away from T-bar to Allen key, to the actual Allen key, purely because you're limited on space. So if you can see on there, so you want to be going under here, so you can just get that in on this side, but if you had, you can just get that a little bit more. What we'll do is we'll reduce this at the moment. So again, just a turn, no more than a turn at the beginning, and then at least 7. So then what you're looking at there is you're just reducing that close.
So changing the seat depth, okay.
Just giving you that adjustment of where you want it to go. And then you're tightening this Allen key. With our particular models, they have all 5 mil. So one tool does everything. It couldn't get any easier than that.
And you can do it with the client in the chair too, if you had to.
This one's probably the hardest one to actually visually get you to see. There you go.
Nice and simple.
And then the Pro, just swap chairs over. It might be this, it might be easier. So when we're going into the Pro seat, the main difference, like we said before, the Pro is just the base size. With the backrest, we can put any backrest at all we want to go on there. So we're just doing. Yeah. So we are just undoing these on here. This you can do side by side now because you are literally. You can really narrow it down. So we're not affecting the backrest in any way. Literally, we're reducing that down in width. The reason we're showing you this is more so that the fact that it can be done. Not expecting you to do it if you want to. By all means, you can. But it's just giving you that option to say you can do it if you want to.
And now you often want to change, and I think this is a common one that we're going to show you, is changing the leg rest position. Okay, so the angle of the leg rest. So you might want to bring that in or move it out, depending on if you've made any changes or equally if the person's needs have changed.
So you've got a 5 mil.
Sorry guys, camera's just a little bit lagging, apologies. So as you can see, Rob's just going into the end, he's loosened it, and this is where your hammer comes in. All right, so don't be afraid to put a little bit of muscle behind it.
That's tight.
Okay.
You're just setting it. The main thing you've got to be aware of is where the casters are going to fail, and then
move accordingly.
Yeah.
All right. So don't be afraid once you've loosened that Allen key, if it's not moving.
There is going to be another one sometimes underneath there. Depends on how tight it is. Depends on whether it allows them to go in. But you're going to be your limiting factors. And then your seat depth.
We won't.
Very similar to the other one.
Yeah.
But it's just in from the side there. So as you can see where my T-bar is, goes in from the side, and then it just loosens off. So.
All right. We do want to make a mention of center of gravity. Okay. You know, this is where we're moving how far forward the seat is on the base. This is really something that needs to be done correctly. So as clinicians in the field, just look at the chair. On our newer chairs, the center of gravity number will be measured. Okay, if say you're putting on a super thick backrest, so one of your deeper backrests, know that you know your dealer will need to come out and change that center of gravity for you, because if someone's seated 3 or 4 inches further forward, that's really going to change the ride of the chair.
Yeah, just the main factors you're going to have is the foot plates every time, depending on, especially for the rear wheel drives. But mid wheel drive, you can really keep those feet nice and tight, and you can get the footprint of the chair really small by changing that center of gravity, making sure the weight's in the right so the drive wheels are having the weight on them, so the chair performs to its best. Because then the chair will not perform if the center of gravity is same as a manual. So when you get to manual chairs, and we always harp on about center of gravity and say it's got to be true so that people can take the weight off the wheels to give them that bit more adjustment. The same thing for power. When you've got power involved, it's about having the weight over the wheels at the right point, so the front casters do the right amount of climb. The rear ones don't tap as they're going along. There's nothing worse than hearing a chair going along the road and every bump is just tapping where the weight's offloaded on what different places. So it's just to give that little bit of support.
Armrests.
Armrests. So we've got a few different types here. So we can change the same as the power. The power goes the same as the manual in a lot of adjustments, but you tend to find they're a little bit more fixed on power because people tend to be a bit harder on them. So it's a little bit harder use. So with that, you've got your flip back adjustment. So you can see that rotation there of that angle. It's just showing you that armrest here is going to go back and over and flip back. If that was straight up, then it would just be a lift off. But with your height adjustment, this is
front side. We're just showing you the side that doesn't have all the cables around it.
And then you've got your height adjustment. So this one, you've got the lever, the little hand wheel, do it all. I'll now show you why I turned it round, because this is what you're going to come across every time you come to a chair with different. If it's been used, that hand wheel's been snapped off. What you need to do is find if you use a shifter or a 10mm spanner, depending on which size it is, and then all you're going to do is actually take that size, just loosen it, because essentially it's just a nut and bolt that you're just loosening, and then set the height. So you'll see the metal part at the front. Can we get to the end? And then we're just tightening that so it allows for that part to be until that part gets replaced. So it just gives you that prime example of what can go wrong when it goes wrong.
Oh, sorry guys, wrong way.
And then that gives that. Then the other probably adjustment you'll find that you tend to get asked, or you're not too sure if the joystick's too far forward or they can't get to position on the joystick. They're still onto armrest. What you've got is if you've got these adjustments here, you can actually, there's a T-bar.
So what we're looking to do is move it along the rail.
And then you can just change that to wherever you want the armrest position to be. So you can see, got the weight of the joystick, so you just take the weight and then just slide it to wherever you want to be. Tighten that one up. flip the armrest back because you just need to get to that bolt underneath. And then you can get to that. Then if that's still not in the right place, maybe it might be a little bit too high or a bit too low. Thank you. So then you've got you can set that to a different height.
So it's just a single kind of clamp underneath the armrest that Rob's just loosened to enable you to change the height of the controller. And, you know, if someone has minimal upper limb function, you know, take the time to get this controller in the right position.
So then you can then see you've got that adjustment as well.
All right. So under the armrest, that's on another rail. All right, so he's just loosened it to enable you to move it back and forward.
And then you go take that out of the way. A lot of the times the screws won't work unless you do that rotation. So just give me that a little bit more.
And, you know, a note for new clinicians out there, when you're making these adjustments, make sure your power wheelchair is turned off. Okay, you don't want to accidentally hit the joystick.
Fine example.
Yeah, you don't want to, you know, run over your foot, be thrown into a wall and that sort of thing. So simple, always make sure the power wheelchair is off.
Yeah, and it may be the clients in there, just to be aware that make sure that they feel safe as well. You're just doing those adjustments. So we've done the leg rests in the sense of the manual. So what with the power, they're slightly different. They're a bit more substantial.
Okay, so let's just reset this camera.
So again, 5 mil, and then we're just setting different position that you require.
Right, you can see it's kind of like that cuff again. Could you go back and show the link?
Yeah. So you've got 5 mil extension tube, so different styles. So just a tube inside the tube. And then I've loosened it up already. It's on teeth, so you can then set the angle. Heaps of adjustment. The only thing you haven't got adjustment on is falling backwards on these ones, so you can't bring them in tighter. For that, then you'd need to go for the adapt, which we showed you earlier.
Yeah, those adult angle adjustable ones, you could script those on a power chair.
That's setting out that angle at that point. One adjustment, and it can be set even more. That's locked in place wherever it wants to be.
Okay, so really, you know, just find that cuff to do the length, and then you're looking at the plate for the angle. We don't have them here, but I want you to be aware of center mount foot plates. Okay, you can have mechanical, you can have power. Personally, I'd stay away from making any adjustments to the power or mechanical, just because they're a little bit more complex. But the manual fixed ones, go for it. You'll get angle adjustment here and here, and you can change the length in here and here as well. So quite simple, but if you're dealing with anything mechanical or actuator based, you know, take a good picture and send it through to your supplier.
Yeah, the main take from this is purely so we show you what can be done with the chairs. We're not taking away from what the dealer, we want you to be able to have a look, and if something doesn't look quite right, then you can actually tell the dealer and say, hey, I've saw my chair, this is, I believe it's this. It's not, it's being able to give you that confidence to maybe adjust the controller and not being able to have to match your diaries up for 3-4 weeks in advance. You can go in and do that quick fix there and then. So just building confidence is all it's about. And
knowing what to look for and understand, is it possible to make this adjustment or is it not?
Yeah.
Okay. Has anyone got questions on power wheelchair adjustments?
Give it a minute.
I'll give you a minute while we reset the room.
Trying to
Okay.
clear some space. It's like,
But overall, don't be daunted by a power wheelchair, all right? Rip off the seating, have a look. What's your goal? What are you looking for? Does it look like there are bolts that you can move? Are there lines? Are there indications of angle adjustment? Are there indications of length or depth adjustment? You know, manufacturers, we're wanting to make everyone's life really, really easy. So if there's a mark on there showing you length or depth or angle, you can probably make that change in the field. Okay.
okay.
All right. I think I might move the table out of the way for this last segment.